Hello and welcome to Muay Ying, the podcast. And today's topic is freedom. Today we have Sean Fagan on the show. Sean Fagan is a professional Muay Thai fighter and owns a very popular website called Muay Thai Guy. He also runs a podcast himself called the Muay Thai Guys. Yeah. He started Muay Thai Guy many years ago, and it's evolved into something that allows him to do what he loves without being tied down to a 9 to 5. Thanks for coming on to chat, Sean. How has your week been?
Week's been good. I'm super excited to catch up with you. Like we were talking before you recorded, we've like intertwined our careers since like the beginning, and it's good to link up and chat.
Uh, Sean, you are the Muay Thai guy, and just speaking about how we both started and how our lives have intertwined, and then where we are now. I've been following your days since your days on Tumblr. I know that you got a lot of your beginnings over there, and you were in the beginning. You were just casually documenting your experiences, training and as a fighter, and what you thought was cool. Uh, and it was really cool to read back then because I was very very new to the sport, and it was also refreshing to just hear things from someone as they're navigating through the Muay Thai world. And that was well over 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And now you're like traveling the world, kind of like preaching and doing what you love. So who is the Muay Thai guy? Like, how did you find Muay Thai? What got you into it?
It's a crazy story. I guess I'll try to keep it relatively short. It's a long story, but essentially, I was always an athlete growing up. I played baseball and hockey and most team sports, but I always just we were always on like a bad team more or less. I never got the type of playing time that I always wanted to, so I kind of felt overlooked. And then after high school, I went into community college and I was playing baseball to go to a 4 year school, and I had some scholarship offers. And then I ended up failing out because I just wasn't enjoying school. I'm not the classroom type of person, and so I ended up just kind of not knowing what to do. And before with school, when I was forced to read, I didn't really enjoy reading at all. But after college and everything, I actually started reading books that I enjoyed reading, and two of them was The Fighter's Heart by Sam Sheridan
Mhm.
and The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And I almost read them basically at the same time. And so both of those ideas kind of manifested because The Fighter's Heart is about this guy's journey traveling around the world studying martial arts. And Thailand was his first trip. He had his first fight, and he just made it sound like such a cool experience, such a introspective experience. And then Tim Ferriss, he's like the godfather of like the 4 hour work week, right? The online business, the freedom, being able to kind of live life on your own terms. And so when I read both of those at the same time, the idea kind of just sparked a little bit about like, how could I like figure all this kind of stuff out? At the time, I was just starting training boxing, and I just started training Muay Thai and MMA. And a lot of fights kept falling through back in New York because it was still like growing, and we were upstate New York. And so it was hard to find fights anywhere near us. And so I ended up playing poker online. I still play poker online, but I won a pretty large tournament for like $15,000. Like this was like 12 years ago.
Wow. Oh my
It
god.
was crazy. It was so crazy. And at the same time, my lease ended. My girlfriend broke up with me, and I got fired from my job, and I fell out of school. So all the stars kind of aligned. Like, I guess I should just travel to Thailand and test this out and see what I'm made of. And so I flew to Thailand. I had my first three fights, and it really wasn't until after my third fight where I really fell in love with it because it was such a challenging fight, and I ended up losing. But it was such an insightful experience to like who I was, and I was pushed so much farther than I ever imagined, and it became like an addicting feeling that I wanted to keep pursuing. And I remember going back to my bungalow in Thailand and just look I remember vividly looking in the mirror and just like telling myself like this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to put the 4 hour work week and the fighter's heart together and try to make it my own. And that's where Muay Thai Guy started.
And you manifested it, right?
I
You're like, yes,
manifested
this
that
is
shit.
this is
Yep.
gonna be me.
Yep.
And when you say like it wasn't until like your third fight that you like fell in love with it. Like so like one and two, were you just doing it for the sake of doing it, just to kind of see if you would win or
Yeah, I was trying to prove to myself that I was as tough as I thought I was. I always shied away from confrontation as a kid. Uh, Wrestling and like those really physical sports, I tended to avoid. But in hockey, I kept fighting people, and that's actually where like my fight career started was like hockey. And my mom, one day, because I was in the penalty box for like more than half the game, told me I should join the boxing gym instead of playing hockey because I'm just fighting all the time anyway. And so it just kind of naturally evolved. And everyone, well, in the beginning, a lot of it was also ego too. It was just a lot of me trying to prove my worth to the people around me, feel cool, feel like a badass fighter guy, you know. And so, although it started for a variety of reasons, it's ultimately been like one of the most impactful learning tools in myself and just in life in general. And so, although I didn't go into the sport thinking, "Oh, I'm going to learn so much about myself," I definitely have, and so I'm grateful for that.
That's definitely something a lot of people learn as they're on their journey. Like, you hear all these things and you hear all these high level fighters talking and just really comparing the lessons you learn through training, through fighting to life lessons. And it's really not until like you're on your way to kind of getting there too that you're like, "Oh yeah, I get it." Like
Mhm.
there's a lot that you can get out of this. Um how how did you set up Muay Thai Guy to be the way it is now? Because when you first started, so was your very, very first platform Tumblr, or did you have MuayThaiGuy.com before that?
I had MuayThaiGuy.com, and I was like writing a couple blog posts every now and then I signed up for, it was way back in the day. It was like a website builder course, and it kind of told you how to taught you like step by step how to create a website, how to create a brand, and that kind of stuff. And it told me to like also be on social media. So I was also on Tumblr and Facebook early on, and that was where most of my fan base came from at first, and that's where I was also able to kind of write the most more intimate kind of stuff. And so that was able to really connect with people on a different type of level. And then it just kind of patchworked it together. Like I still feel like I barely know what I'm doing, and I'm just kind of faking it, and like I'm like no one knows how crazy it is in the background. It all looks like calm on the surface, but in the background I'm still figuring things out. And it's just kind of like fighting. There's a lot of parallels to fighting, and not just life, but like entrepreneurship. The ups and downs are incredible, and people see the win at the end of the day, but they don't see the times you get knocked down and kind of kicked while you're down. And so it's been just as insightful journey doing like the entrepreneur thing as it has been fighting as well.
And you were one of the first people to create a platform like yourselves. Now we have several, not many of which are very active, but Muay Thai Guy has been active throughout the years, and it's been such a valuable research can't talk resource for people of all levels, but especially for those starting out, because everything that you see on the site is like it's casual. It aims to help people. It's like I know you have some ebooks about like just Muay Thai combos and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So it's very beginner friendly, and I feel like there are some other websites. Again, not saying anything bad about them. They're geared more towards fighters and people
Mhm.
who already have their feet wet in the scene. So, is it safe to say that most of your fan base are beginners?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I started Muay Thai Guy, besides was to like document my journey and ideally make income from it, was also to kind of like spread the word of Muay Thai, right? Kind of like be a ambassador for the sport in a way, because it's changed me so much as a human, and I feel like the more people who are exposed to it and are able to kind of get into it, it has that much more chance to create that kind of ripple effect of change and positivity. And so, although I would love to, and I do like train with fighters, and sometimes I talk more high level stuff. But the beginners are definitely the ones who are like in the beginning. You know how it is. You're like super passionate. You're kind of naive with like how hard it
Just
is in a way.
hungry for more.
Yeah, exactly. And so like those tend to be the people who are just sticking around for the long run too, and they remember me at the roots, and then they go to the other sites and dive a little bit deeper. And also, I've always just I I've documented my journey, right? So like Muay Thai Guy started with me just kind of telling people about my experience and what I was learning. And by no means am I like a world class fighter. I think I'm a good above average fighter, but I'm not like a world champion, right? And so I think I can relate to a lot of people who are just doing it for the self exploration and for the fun and for the fitness. And although I've been striving to become a world champion, it's never been like the end all be all. It's just been kind of a goal I've been aiming for, because I'm a very goal oriented person and I need something to be striving for. And so it's been nice to be able to see people. Like I went to Lion Fight this past weekend and cornered a friend, and then just people recognizing me, like my friend's opponent recognized me and wanted pictures with me at the end of it in his corner and everything. And it's just it's
Hopefully,
crazy.
he didn't get too distracted by that beard.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's probably what ended up winning my guy the fight. He was just too distracted with the Muay Thai guy in the corner, you know?
What challenges? Because you talked a little bit about, everyone sees the product of what you have, but they don't see what went into it along the way. What kind of challenges did you encounter on the way to making Muay Thai Guy financially viable as it is now?
A variety of challenges, really. The main thing is like, well, first off, you don't get into Muay Thai for the money, right? It's not like a lucrative sport where you're like, I'm gonna get rich doing Muay Thai, and so I knew it was gonna be a little bit of a struggle and like pinching pennies early on. I just didn't expect it to be as long as it was, and so I had to rely on my now wife to pay bills for a little early on. I needed to pick up extra work on the side every now and then while still also hustling, training for fights, and also doing the website. And so I sacrificed a lot of social life and didn't get to experience as much as I might have wanted to at a younger age, because on Friday nights, Saturday nights, Sunday days, I'm working on the website, and most of the time I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just putting plugging away, trying to piece it all together, and then a lot of just a lot of times you are really optimistic about certain products being launched or courses being launched or things that are, this is it, like I'm gonna be financially free now, I'm gonna have the money to do what I want. And there were so many just false hopes of just complete disasters and complete failures that really hit me while I was like down, and it made me question whether or not I should continue on this. And then in addition to that, also tying the business directly with like my fight career, whether I do that again, if I were to do it over again, I'm not totally sure. There's a lot of benefit to it, but it also put some unneeded pressure on myself to have this type of like facade and be this type of person that I was enjoying being, but it got weird after a while when people started to recognize me and stuff. And so that was a little bit of a existential dilemma of trying to figure out like who I was and like, am I who I am on social media? Am I the Muay Thai guy? Am I Sean Fagan? Like who am I? And also just dealing with the typical haters and like internet trolls and stuff. And I have learned to appreciate them a little bit more because now I'm in a place where I'm like comfortable and happy and like relatively successful. I can kind of laugh at it, but back when I was like trying to figure it all out, I took a lot of it to heart, and a lot of it really just messed with my mental attitude towards fighting, towards entrepreneurship, and made me question myself a lot. But I stood true into my like vision and what I wanted for my life and for my family around me. And that belief was the power to everything. And that's kind of related to every champion, uh, believed in themselves and like had this just nonstop belief. And although I believed in myself as a fighter, I've believed in myself more as an entrepreneur than I have a fighter. So that's helped me kind of overcome these obstacles.
So you had just the utmost faith that, like, okay, this is not going to work, but I'm going to keep going, keep going, keep going until something does work.
Yeah, it's kinda just the I'm really stubborn, and so, like, when I set my mind to do something, I'm just gonna end up doing it, and I don't care how long it's gonna take me, I'll figure it out. And so this was something, because I remember I worked some great jobs, like, I was an ice skating instructor, I was a baseball instructor, I was a lifeguard, I was a kids martial arts instructor, and all my boss,
All athletic jobs, by the way.
all athletic jobs, yeah, and a waiter at Red Lobster, by the way, so that is a little of a side.
Just to throw that in there.
Yeah, yeah. But all throughout those, I had great bosses and everything, but I hated the idea of working for someone. And like I would work, I'm a good worker. And so I'd work really hard. And no matter how hard I worked, I always got paid the same. Where entrepreneurship, although in the beginning I understood it was a long term investment of time and energy and money, I knew that it would eventually pay off and kind of compound over time. So I just kept sticking with it. Had that stubborn belief. And fortunately, I had people around me who believed me as well. My father has been a big impact on me in that regard. He always believed in my ability to figure this shit out. And then my wife, Liz, has been with me since pretty much the beginning of this as well, and has been a rock through the ups and downs too.
Um, oh my god, as you were talking, I had all these questions, but I didn't want to interrupt you because it was just like you're talking with such passion, and I was like, oh my god, keep going, keep telling me more. What year did you start Muay Thai Guy?
This is a question that I don't even know. I think it was like 2010 or 2011, I think.
Okay, okay, because it's definitely been like more than 10 years.
Yeah, for sure. When I actually had the like business entity, I guess, was like 2011, I would say.
2011, okay.
Mhm.
And how many years did it take with the trial and error and all these, like, downfalls for you to be, like to be comfortable in just focusing on the platform as opposed to, like, "Oh, I still need, like, all these part-time jobs to sustain myself as a fighter, as an entrepreneur, as whatever."
It probably took me a little over 5 years, maybe close to 6 years, where there was a lot of those events where I thought, like, this was the one, and then it just wasn't, and eventually, it was, ironically, it was just kinda it was a Thailand trip. Me and my wife, we traveled around for 6 months, just explored the country, and it was her first time there. It was, like, my 4th or 5th time there, and we were just enjoying it and traveling and just not worrying about things, and because I thought I'd be able to make money by the end of the 6 months to kind of keep us afloat, whether we want to move back to the States or not. That didn't work out. And we were moving back and or flying back, and we had like no money. So I was like, "Shit, what's gonna happen?" And then a mentor, one of my first mentors, reached out just randomly. He was in the jujitsu niche. His name was Dan Fagella, and he just kind of reached out to me and saw my following, and he was just kind of thought, I don't know, it just the universe kind of sent him my way. And then he taught me a lot about online business and like the online marketing aspects of it and how to create products that sell. And from there, that was the ticket to like being able to be financially free. And although that wasn't like the thing, like I still had to work for years until it became a little bit more consistent. That gave me like that type of, because I was on the verge of like, you know what, I guess I have to work a normal job because this just isn't working. When he reached out and I made a little bit of money, just a couple grand, I was like, wow, like this, I can do this. Like I can figure this out, and that's what I needed.
How did you, split your day when you were first trying to figure out everything up until you were making money, and how do you spend your days now running the platform?
So when I started, I was working mainly at Red Lobster because that was a good part-time job that allowed me for flexible work hours and was good cash because of the tips and everything. And so usually I worked that on the weekends or during the days. Then I would train in the evening time, and I would do my work uh, online in the mornings and on the weekends, and essentially really didn't have much other time to do anything. So that was pretty full on, and it just took a while to figure it all out. And then now, um, my days are so random depending on the day, to be honest, because it just now I'm at the point where I have almost too much freedom where I have to make all these choices that I don't have to do anything. Like I could just sit around all day and do nothing, but it never makes me feel good. So now I've had to create some type of structure and accountability with myself in a routine. But since we're in the States right now, with my currently with my family, because we traveled back from Thailand and we're just visiting, but now we're moving back and now all this stuff is happening. So a day in a life for me is just no day is the same. But I
No,
always
it's the
work out.
same.
I always
Yeah.
work out. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, you're clearly an athlete in more ways than one, so makes sense.
Thank you.
It so a lot of trial and error in the beginning, and without getting, like, super technical, like, into, like, the content marketing jargon and stuff, how what was the process of, like, taking Muay Thai Guy from being a blog to what it is now? Because now you have, like, Muay Thai vacations, you have ebooks, you have an online course?
Mhm, I have a membership site as
Yeah,
well.
you have a yeah, so you have a membership site, you have the podcast, so it's kind of like it's turned into this thing with all these different ways of connecting to people. So without getting into the very, very technical side of things, after all the trial and error, what if someone wanted to do something similar, like, what are the general steps that they can take to do so?
Well, you need a platform. You need to. If I would, I would do so many things differently, and I hope to teach this one day to people who
Okay.
want to do it. But picking one platform and sticking to one platform and getting really good at that, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, podcast, I think is really key.
Mhm.
I try to do it all, and so I was not that it was a bad thing, but since I'm ADD, I just do one thing and then I get the shiny object, then I'm on to the next thing, and then I'm on to the next thing, and I never really finish things completely sometimes. But I just keep it's like spinning a bunch of plates at once, right? You have to keep going back to one plate to the other plate before they fall. And so it took a lot of balance and a lot of just creative thinking to figure it all out. But if I were to do it all over again, that was the original question, is I would pick one platform, get really fucking good at it, figure out how to establish yourself as an authority in one form or another, whether it's by interviewing people or becoming really experienced and knowledgeable in your field, and then using whatever platform you have in addition to your authority to start building your email list, because the email is really where I'm able to develop good connect like intimate connections with people, because social media, it's hard to yeah, you know how social media is. It just gets a little crazy, and there's a lot of people's opinions on there. Where email, you're having a one-on-one conversation with people, and I enjoy writing, and it's just nice being able to have like pen pal. I just have like thousands of pen pals I get to write back and forth to. And so it's able to develop a type of connection that you can't really develop on social media. And it's also a valuable asset in regards to with social media, your account can get banned, your things get taken down or censored. With email, you always have someone's email. And so it's kind of like a more tangible asset. And then from there, you can create automations to kind of funnel into different offers and products that you have, and then take it from there. There's a lot to it, but platform, authority, and like email are like the main three things.
It's interesting you say email. Like I'm also like into like content marketing and stuff, so I understand the importance of having email. But when people look at like communication, they think of like, okay, first it was like snail mail. Then after snail
Mhm.
mail, it went to text message. Well, after snail mail, it went to emails, and then emails went to text messages, and now text messages went to like video and so on and so forth. And it's just interesting that we kind of are going back in a way. It's like, all right, this is a lot more simple, there's less involved, and this is more authentic in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's less distraction as well. Cause like when you're on social media, you have all these different notifications and ads getting thrown your way. And an email is just a page with people's letters and words on there, and that's it. And so
Mhm.
like the simplified version, maybe we're becoming old school, and the kids nowadays will be doing all about social media. But I feel like email will always be at a core foundation for online business, because it's just not as you don't get as distracted easily. You're not trying to compete with other people, although at some aspects you are, because other people are email marketing. We're always signing up for stuff, and then you have to unsubscribe from other people's lists and stuff. But yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but email, that's where it's at for
Okay.
sure.
Can you tell me more about Muay Thai vacations? How did you think about that? I mean, I'm sure it was like such a cool idea to come up with. Like, oh my God, let's get a whole bunch of people who love Muay Thai together in like paradise somewhere and just train Muay Thai for a few weeks.
Yeah, it happened really organically. It wasn't even an idea. It wasn't even one of my ideas. A guy from the Jungle's Edge in Costa Rica, where we currently host retreats pretty much yearly, he just reached out to me with the idea, "Hey, you want to host a Muay Thai retreat?" And at the time, I didn't even know there was such a thing. And I was like, "A Muay Thai retreat? Like I've heard of yoga retreats, but I didn't think like martial arts was a retreat type of thing." And so he kind of sold me on the idea, and I was like, you know what? At the very least, we're going to Costa Rica and we're going to have fun doing it. And so our first retreat, we ended up having just 4 people. We ended up losing money on it and everything, but it was a great experience. And then we just kind of decided that this was going to be a long term thing. So let's just keep doing it at least once or twice a year. And then it just kind of kept building. And then eventually, Kong Sita in Thailand reached out to me about hosting a camp in Thailand. And then I was like, yeah, that sounds cool too. Like, shit, I'll host a camp in Thailand. And so then that happened. And then Diamond wanted me to host a camp there. I was like, sure, that sounds cool. And then a guy who came to Costa Rica, uh, who actually is in my hometown, funny enough, he has a place in Greece. He was like, you should do a retreat in Greece. I was like, yeah, cool. Just like go set it up. And he set it up, and then we did it. And he ended up marrying me and my wife and being a part of the retreat and
Oh,
everything.
wow.
It's just it's so crazy when when I say it out loud, like all this stuff, but it really just happened kind of organically. And we've always loved travel. We've always loved Muay Thai, and with Muay Thai vacations, that is one of the places I feel most myself, because the people around me are much more like me than everyday life. Like if I'm just walking around the states or in Thailand, even, it's just like the group of people who are just as crazy as me and who love travel and Muay Thai just as much as me. And there's very few of those type of people around, at least from my experience.
So you said Costa Rica, Greece, and Thailand. Were there any other countries so far? Or
Spain, we did in Spain as well, and Spain was a
it's
lot of fun. It was
yeah.
stressful though because so in Costa Rica, in Greece, and Thailand, we always have like a secondary retreat resort or gym or someone to like kind of be co-hosting it with. In Spain, we decided to rent out an Airbnb, like a mansion, and just do it all ourselves. And it was so stressful. And it was our first wedding anniversary as well. And so it was just we overbooked, and so me and Liz had to end up sleeping in the billiards room, and which had like no privacy or anything, but it was an experience and it was a lot of fun, and I wouldn't do it any other way. But from now on we're always having co-hosts though, and people organize restaurants and food, and I'm just focusing on the training and just having a good time. That's my game plan.
How many people usually go?
So these upcoming Costa Rica retreats, we have 25 people per. Um, and then in Thailand, usually it's around 20 people, Greece, 20 people. So now it's around 20 people. We don't want to go too much more than that though. We bring co-hosts and other fighters and stuff as well to kind of make sure everyone's getting enough individual attention. And also, it's somewhat different in Thailand than it is anywhere else because Thailand you have all these Muay Thai trainers at the gym. So I'm not necessarily training people. I'm just more training with people and sharing some of my experience and sparring and that kind of stuff. Where the retreats in Greece and Costa Rica and other parts of the world, I'm hosting like pretty much seminars every day where we're just going through a variety of techniques, partner drills, and that kind of stuff.
That sounds like so much fun.
Oh, it's so much fun. I wanna go on one of my retreats, but I can't yet. I have to, I'm trying to get it to the stage where other people, like maybe someone like you and other fighters who have, experience and teaching ability to, host these, and then I could ideally go to one of my own retreats as a camper as opposed to a host.
I like how you keep everything relatively small, like ideal classroom size, because you can really get to know everyone, as opposed to like if you have like 50 or 100 people, it's like you might get like 5 minutes of conversation per person, and you just kind of like forget them when they leave.
Yeah, I like the intimacy of Muay Thai and martial arts. Once it gets too big of a group, that's why I've never trained at like places like Tiger Muay Thai and like some of the like really big gyms. It's because I always felt like maybe it's just my prejudice and like just some judgment towards them before even going there. But I always felt like it was just like too many people. I don't want to be around so many people, and it's
Mhm.
nice to have smaller groups and be able to develop relationships as opposed to just being like a number. But I could totally have no idea what I'm talking about because I've never been to those gyms, but that's just
I've
my kind of feel.
heard Tiger Muay Thai being described as the McDonald's of Muay Thai gyms.
Oh, yeah, because it's
Yeah.
hard, right? Because then so many good fighters come out of there and everything, and so I guess it kinda depends, but, yeah, it seems like just, too big for my liking, and if and when I open up a gym, it's gonna be like a small boutique gym, I feel like, 'cause,
Got it.
that's just more my style.
To each their own, huh?
Mhm.
What is your goal with Muay Thai Guy? I know it's a popular site among newer people who are looking for all these resources, but is there an end goal for it to you?
Hmm, that's a good question. I wanna say there's an end goal, like, the main goal of it, like I was saying before, was to essentially just create a ripple effect of impact through Muay Thai, and I am able to use my platform, Muay Thai Guy, as that catalyst of growth and reflection for other people. And so I just want it to keep growing and to keep changing people's lives. The more people I help, the better. And it's just it's like a selfish thing to want to help people because it makes me feel so good. And then also by helping people, I'm able to generate more money with that. And then the more money I'm able to make, the more I'm able to use that in good causes that I want to give back to, like War Watana or like stray dogs in Thailand. And I want to be able to open up a shelter one day. And so, really, it's a vehicle for growth and trying to be more of a champion of life as opposed to just a champion in the ring. And
Mhm.
I eventually want to start coaching more like high performance coaching type of stuff where I'm going over goal setting, just mindset, routine, ritual, scheduling, all that kind of stuff, because I feel like that is what can really change your life. Because Muay Thai has given me a lot of tools that I use and apply in my life, but it's taken me a while to kind of configure exactly how I'm doing it all. I at first I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing it, but now I'm able to take a step back and kind of see what I'm doing, and I want to be able to teach that to other people. So, uh, I guess the goal with Muay Thai Guy is just to impact the world for good. As cliche and corny that sounds.
I mean, but it's coming from such a genuine place. It's not like you just like took that saying and you're just like saying it without meaning it. Like your passion for the sport and your authenticity like clearly shows.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One thing I remember, I got interviewed for Humans of Fighting once, and they asked me if there was one word I want people to remember me as, what would it be? And mine was, I just want to be like authentic and genuine and just like be myself. Because at one point throughout this whole journey, with social media, being a fighter, you kind of lose yourself in a way that's hard to explain, but I didn't really know who I was for a little while in the sport, and I always want to come back to my roots and make sure I'm staying grounded. And so it's good to hear that it comes off, and I appreciate you saying that.
Oh yeah, I mean, the fact that I've been following your platform for so long, it's I never thought that you were a fake person. Like I do come across some social media accounts and some things, and I'm just kind of like, is this person just saying this to get attention? Is this person saying this for like some other intention? Like I think because like also I've talked to you outside of a gym setting, outside of a Muay Thai setting, just like, on podcasts. I used to write for Muay Thai Guy, so I spoke
Mhm.
to you a lot about like, writing and like topics and stuff like that. You never ever struck me as somewhat inauthentic. And I think that's so important because like you are this person with like this like massive following for yourself and for your platform, for everything else that you do. But at the same time, it's like you never really lost the notion that you're connecting with people and you're not connecting with numbers.
Yeah, to be honest, I've lost it in and out of the entire journey, and it took me to lose it to understand it a little bit more. And that was some of the identity crisis these I was having, was just like not knowing like what I'm doing. Because I remember as recently as like 2019 in Thailand, I just kept getting people kept recognizing me, and then they kept wanting pictures with me, and I kept saying the same like canned phrases to them. I was like, What am I even saying? Like, who am I? Like, am I even saying what I'm actually thinking, or is this just my automatic like thing that I say now?" And that really caught me off guard and made me take a step back and rethink like how I was showing up on social media. Because, like you said, social media is a really complicated place, and it's only gotten more and more complicated as the world has become much more connected, I guess you could say. And so I was fortunate to get in on the early rounds, I guess you could say, and be able to kind of establish myself early. Where now I'm just kind of trying to use social media as a way to just kind of share my life, share my thoughts without really trying to just come across as I don't know. It's so weird to show up on social media. I'm sure you can relate, especially people who are starting like now. You have to. It's so saturated with so many people. It must be so hard to stand out. So I get why people are saying certain things to stand out and trying to grab attention and stuff. So I see what people are doing and I understand it, because I did a lot of that in the beginning and I didn't understand that I was coming off like used cars man salesman, or I was coming off disingenuine. Like I was just trying to figure it out. And so I think as long as you kind of look at it that lens, like everyone's just trying to figure this game called life out, then it kind of takes off the edge a little bit when you're
Mm,
reading other people's posts and stuff, you know?
yeah, yeah, you're right. Maybe I should start being so harsh on other people.
No, it's all right. No, I understand. I am harsh too, and I judge so hard. So don't worry.
If Muay Thai Guy never took off, or you've never even started it, what do you think your life would be like now? Like, I'm sure you don't even want to think about it, but I'm pretty sure you have given it some thought at some point. Like, do you think that you would actually have taken your fight career further, or would you
Mm.
have stopped fighting, or what else would you be doing?
Yeah, I don't know, cause like part of me thinks that like Muay Thai guy got in the way of my fight career, and then my fight career got in the way of Muay Thai guy. But whenever I try to do one or the other, I was just losing my mind because I was just like, I need to do more. Like I just can't do one thing. And each of them by themselves didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. So
It's not what you
I don't
manifested.
no, not what I manifested at all. And so like fighting was a tool, right? Fighting was a tool to help me get to this style life of freedom that I want to live and be able to impact people. But it was never like the main goal was to like it was to be the best fighter I could be, but it wasn't to be the best fighter in the world. That was never my goal. But other than that, I would probably end up being a personal trainer. I used to do like group. I used to teach body pump and body combat back in the day, and like group fitness classes, and like I guess that's where I'm able to do like these online workouts kind of well because I used to teach like online fitness classes and do all these fitness related things. So I would definitely be in the fitness field, probably a personal trainer or something if I were to guess.
Mm, mm, mm. So, today's topic was freedom. Like, what does freedom mean to Sean Fagan?
Freedom means being able to do what I want, when I want, how I want, whenever I want. And so I've always been striving for that. And it's a combination of emotional freedom, spiritual freedom, like physical, geographic freedom, financial freedom is all of the things combined. And so there's this term called Ikigai from the Japanese philosophy of like having finding the right like center point between your vocation, your passion, and everything in between. And so I've always been trying to like strive to find that center point in my life and it's been you almost like never find it, but essentially that's what I'm trying to find is like that personal and financial and spiritual freedom that that it's hard to come by, but it's kind of like the pursuit of becoming a martial artist, right? You know that you're striving for perfection, knowing that you'll never reach it, and that's kind of how I'm trying to figure out freedom and life in that sense.
Mm. Was there anything that we didn't get to cover or talk about that you would like to talk about?
Um, no, I mean that was a pretty diverse conversation. I feel like, and yeah, it's been so good being able to catch up. I haven't done a podcast for a little while, so it was nice to kind of verbalize some of the thoughts that have been going on in my head. So, thank you for that.
Oh yeah, no problem. What can people expect from the Muay Thai guy in the near future?
So they can expect a coaching program called Champion of Life, where I'm going to be doing some high performance coaching and sharing some of my methodologies and tactics for goal setting, for morning routines, evening routines, and everything in between. Because I've always been very goal oriented. I've always been trying to pursue certain things. I want to kind of help other people do that. So I'm creating like a systemized approach to teach people how to be a champion in all aspects of their life. So this way you can be a champion husband or father, as well as a champion fighter or a champion employee or champion boss or whatever it is, but try to be a champion in all aspects. And other than that, um, be teaching seminars and stuff. I'm kind of just going with the flow right now. A lot is happening with my life. Like I was saying before the podcast, my wife is now pregnant, and so we're moving back to the states and doing all the domesticated things. Right, I've been living in Thailand for 3 years and kind of been very simple, hopping on a motorbike, going to training, and not really worrying about all the responsibilities that comes with living in the West. And so I'm gonna figure out all my responsibilities before I decide to do anything else. I think. Well, we'll see. I probably will end up doing something else as well because I can't help myself.
Yeah. Sounds like you just can't keep still. You just gotta
I
have
cannot.
things
No.
that make you feel challenged, which says a lot about
Yes.
you. So,
Yes. Thank you.
well, congratulations and best of luck with whatever you have going on in the past in the next few months. Looks like a lot of exciting things happening, a lot of big moments happening in your life. So,
Indeed. Thank you.
and Sean, how can people find you, find your platform? Do you have anything to plug?
You can just go to Muay Thai Guy. Just Google Muay Thai Guy or go to muaythaiguy.com. And then from there, you could probably find most of the resources from me that you need. And then, yeah, email is the best way to contact me because social media tends to get a little overwhelming. And so if you ever need something, you could email me at Sean at knock1nation.com. And I try to personally write back to every single one. My assistant Scott, who Angela knows very well, he helps me with it because I get quite a influx of emails, but he helps me sort through it, and I try to make sure to get back to the ones that are like personalized to me. So that's the best way.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, Sean. I'm your host, Angela Chang. And if you would like to follow me, I'm on Instagram.com/Angela Seaton. That's ANGLASITAN. You can look at the content on Muay Ying at muay-ying.com, and we're also on Patreon as patreon.com/muaying. Thanks for coming on, Sean. It was really good talking to you.
Thank you, Angela.